All right, so I think we're going to get started because I want to make sure that we make good use of our time. I think that probably you can't see my face right now because I'm sharing my screen, so I'm going to stop that for a second and say hello and welcome. I'm so happy to join you virtually tonight. My name is Lori Zlatoff, and I decided to bring you this webinar tonight because I think I have a unique perspective in the summer camp world. I work at a sleepaway camp as a professional, and I'm a mom of kids who go to sleepaway camp, and I also am a therapist. And I thought that this was a great time of year to be able to talk to families about all of the nerves and excitement that are probably going on in your house currently as you get ready for camp this summer. So I'm going to go through a PowerPoint presentation of slides where I introduce myself a little bit and then go through some of the concepts that I've come up with, and then I'm happy to answer any questions. There's a Q&A feature on the left of your screen, the little button that says Q&A, and you can, I hope, type in your questions right there. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to start sharing my screen so you'll stop seeing me and start seeing the PowerPoint presentation. And this webinar is called Camp Readiness. It is all about how to make sure that your kids are set up to have the best first summer of their lives at camp. I know that there are some people on this webinar today who don't yet have kids signed up for camp but are thinking about it for the future, and this webinar certainly is for you as you start thinking ahead. In addition, I think that there are people on this webinar whose kids may have tried like a rookie day or a rookie week last year and are going to be coming to camp now for the full season this summer, whether that's one session or 4 weeks or maybe a 7-week session. There are probably people on the webinar who are wishing their kids were ready for camp, think that they're probably not ready, but are hoping that they'll learn something today that gives them some guidance into how to figure out whether or not they're ready. And there may be parents on this call whose kid went to sleepaway camp in the past and did not succeed and were sent home for some reason and is hoping that they could go back and what that would take. And also, perhaps there are parents of kids with special needs who are wondering if their child would be able to attend a mainstream camp and be supported at the same time. And so I'm hoping that this webinar reaches a wide audience. After we present it live, we'll be able to post it and share it as it is being recorded. So a little bit more about me. My background is as a social worker. I got my master's in social work at the University of Pennsylvania about 16 years ago. And over those last 16 years, I've worked in a variety of capacities, mostly with children, starting in the public school system in New York City and then moving to camps and a JCC and social service agencies, always working with children and then also adding their families as a component. And so I have years of experience as a therapist working with kids and addressing issues, you know, of anxiety, depression, PTSD, coping with learning disabilities, or ADHD, and other kinds of disabilities. And then working with families really to help support them and work with them on how they can best support their kids, because I think that the two are very important and go hand in hand. And about a year ago, I started working in a year-round capacity for Camp Harlem, which is a camp that is celebrating its 58th season this summer, has been around for quite a long time. And I actually had worked there for several summers on their camper care team. So I worked primarily with children who were struggling at camp on how to help support them, how to work with their counselors on how to best support them, and also be a conduit of information to families at home. And last year I was hired to be the camp's first inclusion coordinator, which means that I have the opportunity to work year-round in preparation for some of those kids who are struggling, to learn more about them either by a home visit or by speaking to their teachers or guidance counselors or therapists, to really find out as much as I can about those kids so that we can properly support them at camp. so that we can train our staff better and we can know as much as possible so that we're prepared and ready to be able to make sure that they are as successful as possible. Oh, sorry, I should go back. Yes, and the most important thing is that I opened up my own private practice about 6 months ago. My office is in Great Neck, and I, again, primarily work with children and their parents on a regular basis, providing them with play and cognitive therapy to help support them with the challenges that I had listed earlier. So this webinar is going to present you with 10 do's and don'ts to prepare your camper for their best summer ever. You have invested, you being you and your spouse, have invested quite a lot of time researching the right camp, a whole lot of money for camp this summer, and all of your hopes and dreams for a fabulous summer for your child, and of course lots and lots of labels for all of their belongings. And so you've invested a lot in this coming summer and hopefully for summers to come. And so there are, I think, in my opinion, a lot of things that you can do to help prepare your child to be as successful as possible for the summer. Some of those things are intuitive. They're probably things you're already doing. Some of them take practice, and some, I will say, are probably good insider tips for me, who comes to you with wearing sort of 3 different hats as a mom, as a therapist, and a camp professional. So my first piece of advice is don't promise anything that you can't deliver. I can't tell you how many parents I have heard say the following thing to a child at drop-off day. Don't worry, honey, if you don't like it, we'll come get you. Or when we've caught kids with cell phones and their parents have said, oh, but my mom told me that I could have it and then it would be fine. I wouldn't get caught and I wouldn't get into trouble, but she wanted to be in touch with me. Or parents who will sneak candy in a care package or try to sneak candy into a care package. They always will get intercepted in the main office and they will not get the candy. Or telling your child that some of the activities are optional, that they won't have to swim if it's too cold, perhaps, or that they could call you if they're really unhappy. Making promises like this that are not in line with what the camp rules are is a really dangerous thing, because you're setting your kid up for failure. You're setting them up to say that the rules don't apply to them, and that your child should trust you only above anyone else, and that you should not trust and follow the rules of camp. And the kids who hear messages like this, either at drop-off day or before, quite often fail because they are not being given every ounce of confidence and success to be able to do it themselves. So I have my cell phone ban up there because we've had, a number of kids who think that they're above the rules, or parents who think that they're above the rules and they want to be able to be in touch with their kids. And that's a really dangerous precedent to set, because you're taking the power away from camp and pretty much sending the message that you are the only one that they can trust, which brings me to slide number 2. Give your power to camp. You should convey to the kids that you trust camp implicitly to take care of them, and that their rules are the rules, and that you expect them to follow the camp rules. And you also trust that the camp will be in touch with you as the parent if anything should go wrong, but it's not on your child to bear that responsibility. That's on you to have that relationship with the camp. And all of you, are representing different camps. My camp's policy is that you can call as much as you need to the camper care office to get the support that you want, so that your child is able to have a summer free and clear of that responsibility. There's a good Latin term in loco parentis, which means in place of the parent, and camp really is acting in loco parentis all summer. And it's important for your actions and your words to encourage that. All right, number 3. So this is a big one for me because this is what I, base all of my information on, what parents share with me. And so my advice is that you should do tell the camp the good, the bad, and the ugly about your camper, because the more they know, the better that they can prepare. There have been families that I've worked with who try to hide things from me, who aren't upfront and honest because they're worried that I will turn around and tell them that their child can't come to camp. And it sets up a very bad relationship if I feel like a parent is not telling me the truth, not treating me with respect, because when your child arrives at camp, we're going to see and hear everything. They're not going to be able to hide the struggles that they are facing. And so being upfront and being a partner and being planful is so much better than just, crossing your fingers and hoping that your child, doesn't have any issues at camp. It is quite unlikely that that would happen. So it's really important to have a partner, whether that's your director or an assistant director or the camp mom or a camper care team. But there should be somebody at camp who you're able to share whatever the struggle might be for your child, if your child struggles, so that the camp feels prepared to be able to handle it. Number 4, do have high expectations. Kids are better when you're not around. We like to say at my camp that kids are better at Camp Harlem, and not to say that the kids that come to our camp are better than any other camp, but the kids act their best when they're at camp. The environment and the expectations of them create a situation where kids most often behave and rise to higher expectations and than you might be used to seeing at home. And so what a great thing to do in preparation for the summer is for you to talk to your child in a positive way that encourages them and gives them the confidence to know that they can handle it. Sometimes kids are nervous about going to camp if they hear a message from you that they can't take care of themselves, that they don't know how, or they wouldn't know what to do in certain situations. And they need to hear from you that you believe in them, that they're going to be great, that they know what to do, that you wouldn't send them to camp if you didn't think that they knew how to take care of themselves, and that they're going to grow all of their independent skills away from you over the summer. And as long as your child hears from you in your voice and in your words, your love and confidence in them, that they can work through problems, that they can provide all of their self-care, that they can manage homesickness, that you believe that they can do it, will go a really long way in helping them believe that they can. Number 5, so this is one of my favorite ones. Do not meddle in bunk dynamics. They belong to the camp to solve, not to the parents. This is their camp experience, not yours. So I've had, unfortunately, the experience of parents who either find out through letters or observe over social media in the off season or get information during visiting day about bunk dynamics and conflicts that come up in the bunk. And instead of letting the camp know so that the camp can handle it, they decide to handle it themselves. And they'll call another parent, or they'll talk to a kid, and they'll give their child advice. And it's so frustrating from my end as a camp professional when that happens, because it often creates much more drama than needs to be present. And if you really are concerned about something that's going on in the bunk with bunk dynamics or any kind of conflict, whether it involves your child or somebody else, then it's incumbent on you to share that with the camp directors so that they can handle it. This is not an opportunity for you to insert yourself into medal or you know, guilt because you're not there and you don't know, and you need to trust the camp to manage all of that on their own. And your child needs to believe that you have the confidence in them to handle their conflicts on their own as well, that you're not going to swoop in and manage it for them. Many of you probably went to camp as campers and have a hope that your child will have the same kind of experience that you did. And maybe you've been telling them some fun camp stories over the last few weeks as you've been getting ready. I know that I've packed my daughter's duffel bag in the same duffel bag that I used, which has certainly brought up a lot of memories, but it's so important to remember that this is their experience. It's not yours. It's not reliving your camp years. It's their own unique experience with their own peers and their own environment, and we need to respect that. All right, number 6. So don't talk about the mail in the mail and other mail faux pas. So one of the most frequent calls that I get in my office, in the Camper Care office, goes like this. I got a letter from my daughter, but it seems like she didn't get my letter. And so I wrote her back and told her that I'm not getting any of her letter, or she's not getting any of my letters, and there must be something wrong with the mail, and I need you to look into it. And this frustrates me to no end because the mail system is quite imperfect. Our camp has over 500 campers. We get a truckload of mail every day, and we distribute mail every day. But as we know, the U.S. Postal Service is not the most reliable. It is not email, and it is not an exact science. So trying to record the chronology of your letters can only lead to frustration and panic. And I have kids who come to me all the time who get really worried that they're not getting the mail, or their parents aren't getting their mail, and it just can't be managed well. It is one of those things that you just have to let go and see what happens, because we can't control the mail system. Now, many of your camps probably have what we have with bunk notes and sending an email, and that's another hard thing for parents to wrap their brain around, is when they're sitting at their computer writing a letter to their child via a bunk note. That email does not arrive at the child's bed immediately after pressing send. It gets printed, sorted, and batched by bunk, just like the other mail, and it arrives with the other mail. And so that's only coming once a day. And so if your child is writing you a reply, it potentially could be 2 to 3 days before you hear back from your child in regards to the email that you sent, which is a very frustrating way to think about email. It is not, an immediate gratification at camp. It certainly can be more reliable because you can track that it's been sent, but it is not a great thing to talk about in the mail because it only provokes anxiety in the kids. And that's the last thing that you want to do to them. You want them to enjoy themselves and not be worrying about the mail. Other mail faux pas are writing about things at home that your child would be just so desperately jealous to hear you're doing. All the fun that you're having with your younger sibling, going to an amusement park, is like probably not a great thing to highlight in a letter. Nor is it a good idea to highlight in a letter that everyone's crying at home and missing them. You don't want the letters to cause anxiety or panic amongst your camper. And so it's best to keep your letters sweet, informative, but no highs and lows, really even. And if there's something going on at home that your child might be worried about, to be able to share information with them that doesn't allow them to sort of read through the lines. Okay, number 7. So in addition to bunk notes, your camp probably also, probably also post pictures every day, which becomes everyone's favorite activity when their child's away, is to sit on their computer and press refresh 1,000 times so that they can see pictures of their child. And that's a wonderful thing, that you get an inside lens into what's going on at camp, and it's always great to see them. But when it gets hard is when the pictures are not telling you something great. If maybe you're looking at the picture and you're thinking that your child doesn't look that happy, or that they're not, maybe there's a picture of the whole bunk and they're not in it, or that they are sitting on the sidelines when everyone else is playing. And because that's all you have to go on, you end up reading into the photos that you're being shown and make up stories in your mind about what's going on. And that's a really mean thing to do to yourself, because even though a picture is worth 1,000 words, it isn't at camp. Kids barely notice the cameras. Some of them don't want to stop to take a picture because they're busy playing and doing. Some kids are much better at posing than others and will jump in front of a camera. And just because your child is not like that doesn't mean that they're not having a great time. I once had a parent call me in a panic because she thought that her child's eye was swollen from a bug bite and she wanted me to go check. And that poor child, when I got there, was horrified that I was doing such a thing, and had to go back and report to her that it was just a shadow in the picture, that he was fine. So the pictures can be dangerous if you let your imagination go wild. Please just enjoy the photos for what they are, which is a snapshot, and it's not trying to tell a story. Number 8, do prepare your child to meet kids who may be different from them by reminding them to be kind. So at my camp, my role as the inclusion coordinator is to not only help prepare kids with disabilities and challenges to come to camp, but also to help support and educate the children, the other children who are in the bunk. And one of the things that we believe at our camp, and I would imagine most camps feel this way, is that every member of our community brings value to that community, and it wouldn't be the same without, every single individual there. And so one of the things that we suggest, that you talk to your child about, that I suggest you talk to your child about before the summer, is that when you join a bunk, you become part of a new camp family. And when you're part of a family, you may not always agree with everybody, and you might not always want to spend time with everybody in that family, but you sorry about that. I'm so sorry. I just got a text and now I just lost my train of thought. So supporting kids, to let them know that everyone is valuable and should be treated with respect and with kindness. And that just because you might not want to be best friends with every single person in their bunk, that everyone brings their own unique gifts and qualities to the bunk and should be treated that way. And I think that's a great message to send, because it also reinforces for your child, if they're a little bit nervous about how they're going to be accepted, that camp is a warm and loving and accepting place, no matter what kind of a kid you are, who you are, and that you're able to be yourself and be valued for that. There may be kids at camp who are experimenting with their sexual orientation, or even kids who are transgender or in the process of becoming transgender. There may be kids with disabilities, kids with hearing aids, kids in a wheelchair, kids on crutches, kids who have diabetes, kids who have same-sex parents, kids who are adopted, kids who speak a different language. Our camp, we have kids from Israel, so you could have kids from a different country. And it's important to reinforce the notion of kindness, and it'll go a long way in the bunk. All right, number 9, we're just speeding through here. We're almost done. So I hope that you've all been doing this already, but one of the best ways to prepare your child for living away from you is to help encourage opportunities to exert independence at home in the weeks leading up to camp. So it's certainly not too late to start some of these things if you haven't been doing them. but it's really great opportunity for your child to show you what they're capable of within the safety and support of your home, or in the home of loved ones. So some opportunities to show this independence is to have sleepovers at friends' houses, not just family, but other friends' houses, so that they are confident in knowing that they are able to sleep away. Another great opportunity is to encourage them to do their bedtime routine on their own or with minimal input from you, to see if they remember all of the steps and can do it in a short amount of time. Other opportunities include, giving them more responsibility, like making breakfast in the morning for themselves and a sibling, emptying the trash, folding laundry, putting it away. These are the kinds of skills that they're going to need at camp, whether it's in the dining hall or during cleanup, where they're going to be cleaning toilets and washing the sink and keeping their area clean and putting away their laundry. They should have practice in doing a lot of those things at home so that they have some knowledge base to fall back on. And then in terms of packing for camp, it's great for them to help you pack, help them make decisions about what they're bringing, what you're buying, so that they recognize it all when they get there and unpack everything and see what's what, but also so that they have some ownership over what's coming in the bag with them, that they are able to make their own decisions. All right, we're going to move to the last slide, which is probably what many of you thought I was going to be talking about for most of this webinar, which is about homesickness. So in preparation for the summer, it's great to tell your child that you will miss them and it is okay for them to miss home. Homesickness is normal and a part of every camper's experience, whether it's a tiny bit or a lot, but it's certainly a very normal thing. We often say to kids, it would be weird if you didn't miss home because it's your house and everything that's familiar. And you could love camp and miss home at the same time. You can let your child know that you're going to miss them, but I would not overdo it and tell that you're going to be crying into their pillow every night, because you don't want them to worry about you. We want them to know that you miss them, but you also are so excited for them to have this experience and know that they can do it. If you're too effusive about the missing, they may translate it into thinking that you don't believe that they can do this. We tell kids at our camp that the key to overcoming homesickness is not necessarily to get rid of it, but to be comfortable with it, and know that the feeling will eventually pass, and that it's so long as you can continue to participate in activities and enjoy yourself, that managing the homesickness is a skill that you can do and that many people are doing. You can also talk to your child about good ways to cope, things that they enjoy, their preferred activities, because we find that most kids are homesick in the downtime, in the rest hour, at bedtime, at meals. So some things that you can talk to them about ahead of time in terms of writing in a journal or writing letters, listening to music, talking with a friend or a counselor, playing a game, finding a different activity, will help them, coach with them so that they can pull on all of those ideas if they're having feelings of homesickness at camp. And just know that if your child is homesick and they're writing you letters during the time that they're feeling badly, that probably your letters are going to look much worse than they actually are. We also find that kids will write home, how terribly homesick they are. And once they get it out, then they are able to bounce back and be fine. And it's the letters that you get are probably not indicative of how they're feeling all the time. And that's a perfectly okay phone call to make to the camp, which I get all the time, which is, I just got this horrible letter. I know it was written a week ago, but could you just check in with my child? And at which point I'll check in and see, oh my God, I was really upset that day, but it passed like right away, and I've been fine ever since. And then I can give that reassurance to the parents. Another nice idea to combat homesickness is to bring a transitional object from home. So a child might have a favorite stuffed animal or a blanket, or they might want to hang a picture of the family up on their wall. A great idea that somebody suggested to me was to take a walk together before camp starts and to find a stone that you choose together, and that I'll keep on and my child will keep on, so that when we miss each other, we can rub the stone and know that we've been connected that way. And that is it for my presentation. I am going to leave the screen sharing so that we can go into some Q&A, but I wanted to just put this slide up so that if anybody would like to reach me either by email or by phone to set up a private consultation, or you have more specific questions about your child that you don't want to share on the webinar, please don't hesitate to reach out. I do have a website that advertises my practice, and I am taking new clients in September to work with children, and so you can certainly keep that information either for yourself or for a friend. And I'm going to exit the slideshow and go back to our screen with my face, and here I am. So I hope that worked, because otherwise I just spoke to myself for 40 minutes. And I would love to encourage you to ask any specific questions using the Q&A button on your left. So the first question that just came in is it okay to send mail that will arrive before your child gets to camp, or is it better to wait a few days? And I think that it's great to send a letter a few days before they leave so that they can get a letter one of the first few days of camp. I think that's a terrific idea, and you can even use that opportunity to, do your final pep talk and say, you're still home, and I see that you're feeling nervous and excited, and I just know that you're having the best time, and I'm so proud of you. And that would be a great, opportunity to reinforce some of that support. Thank you, Robin. Any other questions? I don't see any more questions coming through, which is totally fine. You can always email me separately. I hope that you found this a little bit helpful and reassuring. I know some of you might be very nervous and anxious about this experience for your child, but just know that they're in good hands when they get to camp, and that they're going to gain such confidence and independent skills that they would never be able to get when they're with you, just by virtue of the fact that they're still with you. So you're really giving them such a gift, and they will, I'm sure, amaze you this summer. I wish you luck with packing and with drop off, and please feel free to share this broadcast once it's complete and recorded with any friends or family that couldn't participate today. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.